All right, so I wanted to do something a little bit different. Not really big about this, but so I wanted to read from this book, Parapsychology, a Handbook for the 21st Century. And what I wanted to do was read from the chapter 26, Electronic Voice Phenomenon. And I wanted to give you guys a parapsychologist opinion. You know, this is an academic book, and I wanted you to check this out and to see what they say about the types of EVP. So they consider it to be two types of EVP. One is the transform or type 1 EVP, and these are voices or voice-like sounds that are heard on recording media such as magnetic recording tape or digital voice recorders. Now, what they're saying is these are typically the EVP that we get on a digital recorder when we run our audio sessions and things like that. These are the ones where you may hear them live, or you go home and suddenly you got some voices on your audio that you just really didn't hear the first time. And a lot of the videos I do, I rely a lot on this type 1 or transform EVP. And sometimes I break them down to either piggyback EVP, where you have something that is being said and it sort of modifies what's being said so that it can get across what it needs to say. Or as something else I like to call is a, what's the word I'm looking for? An opportunistic EVP. And it sort of works like a transform EVP, but just something simpler. Now, the second kind of EVP, so let's go and look at more about what they say about the transform EVP. It sort of piggyback, or it sort of contributes to what I just said. Now, transform EVP are sometimes recorded with background noise playing, such as white noise or the sound of a fan, but an external source is not always required. The second kind of EVP that they list is called live voice EVP, also called direct radio voice or type 2 EVP. And you probably know exactly what they're talking about here. This is sort of like our radio sweep devices, like that we use, like the S box, or here they call it the Frank's box, or your Spirit box. Now, these EVP, the live voice EVP, are voices or voice-like sounds that are audible via electronic equipment at the time that they occur. Typically played by playing snippets of human speech or speech-like sounds very rapidly, producing a stream of gibberish. These are the kind of EVPs you get from your applications. Like one that I use a lot is the Necrometer, and then there's another one, Ghost Box or Ghost Tube Vox. A lot of people are using Spirit Chasers at. Typically, for me, I stick straight to a radio sweep EVP. I'm very limited on the applications I will use, but you've seen those already a few times. Again, back to the transform EVP. It makes mention where it says background noise, such as white noise or the sound of a fan. External noises can be used, but it's not required. I will say from personal experience, if you do use one of these methods, the reason that the white noise and the background noise is so effective is because it's varying frequencies of noise. Every noise, everything you hear is a frequency. And when you do these communications and these EVP sessions, you need to have some level of noise in most situations for them to use to make a transform EVP, or piggyback EVP as I like to call it, or like a, yeah. So what you'll find though is that when you use these bits of sound, you're going to get a better quality EVP, and it's going to, if you do it correctly, and in rare instances, but more often than you would think, you're going to get very full statements in. It's just a matter of properly doing noise contamination and getting rid of that background noise. Let's see here. So when they go into characteristics of EVPs, they have found that most EVPs follow a very set pattern. either 5 words or a few words are over a short period of time. What I have found is that that does hold up, but you also have EVP that will come in slower and that might need to be sped up, or EVPs that might need to be slowed down to hear what they're saying. You have EVPs that do occur in reverse, and you also have EVPs that occur at higher pitches. When you go in and you edit your audio to really see what you're hearing through EVP, it's not always going to be universal. Typically what I found in terms of frequency ranges is you're looking at probably 400 to 800 hertz, and then the normal range of human hearing, which goes up to about 20K, but about 2,000 to 4,000 kilohertz. I gotta look at one of my graphics equalizer filters. So I have a handful of filters on my computer that I use for EVP work. And these preset filters help me clear up my EVP as I do my editing. So take a look at this for a second. So hopefully I'm getting a good shot with this, but this is one of my graphics equalizer filters. And you can see that I consider this one of my lower range to higher range EVPs. And you can see that the spike there is at about 500 hertz. So you have a bell curve from 315 to about 800. What I found, depending on the work, is that around 1K and 1.25, you're getting a lot of the noise in there from your background noise. But between about 1.6 with a spike at 2K down to about 3.15K, you're going to get your audio, which is where typically EVP speech occurs. If you're going higher than that, you're going to start processing in noise that you don't necessarily want to hear in your EVP work. When you work with radio sweep, or as the book calls it, let's see what I do with that. If you're working with your radio sweep or your live voice EVP, that's typically where you're going to try and dull down those higher channels. The about 8K to 20K, because all you're going to get in there is the radio sweep sound. So you don't necessarily want those. Once you start cleaning it up and you have a very good EVP sample, then the sample becomes like typical speech. Once you have it cleaned up and you have the frequencies that you want to be present in your EVP sample, then that's when you can start cleaning it up as if the audio is typical commentary. So that's when your audio becomes normal, when you can add the increased frequencies in the normal range of human hearing up to 20K. A lot of us don't hear up to 20K. That's just the main thing I wanted to talk about. Something else they touch on that I want to share with you guys. Now I'm reading out this book. This is a fresh book. I had the book for the last God knows how many years digitally, and that's where all of my highlights are. But here I want these things in physical form. I like physical books. I don't understand digital books at all. So, explanations of EVP. One, they say it's contamination. We all know that contamination happens. Another is radio interference. And I've heard radio interference in some situations, but it's typically when you have a cell phone near. That's when you're going to get radio interference. But they do make a good point, is that most instruments are shielded against electromagnetic radiation. Don't amplify the sound too much, and you're not going to have to worry about that. But again, most of your things are shielded. The other one is audio pareidolia, or auditory pareidolia, and that's real. Sometimes you can put those things up against the ear and hearing of other investigators, but further in this book, and maybe I'll share it with you one day, even other investigators don't know what the hell they're hearing. No one really knows what they're hearing with EVP unless it's a definitive Class A EVP. So when you put EVP out there and you want to have these conversations about, well, nobody's hearing it, or you're not hearing what I'm hearing, look, don't give a shit about that. You should be focusing on the fact that a voice is there. Interpretation, go ahead, throw that to the wind, but you're not going to get perfect audio. You're not going to get perfect voices. You're going to get voices. And we have to look for the characteristics of a voice. Technically, it shouldn't be there. It just shouldn't fucking be there. But when you put it out, just present it as an EVP, and then you have to let people know that your interpretation is yours. Let them interpret it how they want to. So another one that they're saying for explanations of EVP is hoaxes. Like, people are Class A pieces of shit, and they will hoax this stuff. I pray for them. I don't understand why you would hoax any of this. If you really want real information, why would you hoax it? If you want to go and you want to make EVPs, keep that shit to yourself. So, another thing they mention here is parapsychological explanations. The one that they list, number one, is discarnate entities. And as paranormal investigators, that's the one most of us go with. We all believe that we're talking to some kind of spirit, and depending on where you fall, you think every damn thing is a demon. So that's who you're talking to. And it says here that individuals who first recorded EVP in systematic ways assumed that they were the voices of people who were deceased. In fact, some EVP pioneers, including Jurgensen and Rodiv, don't ask me to explain this stuff, 1964 and 1971 respectively, claimed to have been addressed by the name by deceased people who they knew while living. Most contemporary paranormal investigators and EVP enthusiasts appear to endorse this explanation, which I just mentioned. The other explanation is psychokinesis. And I do believe psychokinesis does come into play. Let me read what they say. EVP result from a psychic kinetic process by which the consciousness of living people influence electrophysical processes within electronic equipment. This is covered more in chapters 20 to 21. The fact that EVP are usually in a language understood by the investigator has led some to conclude that either the investigator or other people who are present play some role in the production. And that was quoted from McRae, 2004, and Sinikowski, 1995. There is also the suggestion that EVP have been produced by people who are asleep. I love that idea. I would love to listen and look into that some more. Next time you are at a pay-to-stay place, and when I say pay-to-stay, I mean the places where you pay and you get to hunt and you get to stay the night. Stay up late. Ask some questions while all your friends are asleep and see, do they respond? But last thing I'm going to mention here is the psychokinesis element of the paranormal and EVP sessions. I fully believe that when you do an EVP session, when you work with radio sweep EVP, and you work with your applications, the number one thing you need to do is have a finger on a device that you're working with. Why? Because your field, your energy is going into that device, and instead of that device just standing alone, it magnifies the process. It connects with what you're working with and what you're speaking to. Hold your device. And when you use your device, always have physical touch on it. And it will work. I've seen it work. Physical touch through individuals that are investigating, and one-on-one communication with whatever you're out there talking to is real. It amplifies activity, or I should say it amplifies communication. Your device is an extension of you. Touch it, use it, okay? And that is really the psychokinesis part. I could really go more into that maybe one day. That's all I want to cover right now. I want to see if I'm going to have the courage to put this video up after I clean it. If you're here, let me know down in the comments what you think. Again, Parapsychology, a handbook for the 21st century. I have other books I like to look into. I was trying to do some EVP work today, but Nirvana took me from it. So, all right.